Have you ever had a weird feeling that you've been here before? Not just in a place, but in this world, living a different life. It's like when you meet someone for the first time, but it feels like you've known them forever. Or when you visit a new place, but somehow it seems familiar. These strange feelings might make you wonder if you've lived before. This idea of living many lives is called reincarnation. Many people around the world believe in reincarnation. They think our souls keep coming back to Earth in different bodies to learn and grow. It's like going to school, but instead of moving up grades, we move through different lives. Each life teaches us something new, helping our souls become wiser and better. But how can you tell if you might be one of these old souls coming back for another round on Earth? Well, there are some signs that people who believe in reincarnation look for. These signs don't prove anything for sure, but they make some folks wonder if they've lived before. Today we're going to talk about 8 of these signs. You might find that some of them sound familiar to you, or maybe they'll make you think about things in a new way. Remember, whether you believe in past lives or not, it's fun to think about. And who knows? Maybe you'll learn something new about yourself along the way. So, let's dive in and explore these 8 signs that might suggest you're a reincarnated soul. Let's start with something many of us have felt before: déjà vu. Déjà vu is a fancy French term that means already seen. It's that weird feeling you get when you're sure you've experienced something before, even though you know you haven't. It's like watching a movie for the first time, but somehow knowing what's going to happen next. Déjà vu can happen to anyone, anywhere. You might be walking down a street in a city you've never visited before, and suddenly you feel like you've been there. Or you might be talking to someone new, and you get the strangest feeling that you've had this exact conversation before. It's a bit like a glitch in your brain, where your present and your imagination get mixed up for a moment. Now here's where it gets interesting. Some people who believe in reincarnation think that déjà vu might be more than just a brain hiccup. They wonder if these familiar feelings could be tiny glimpses of our past lives peeking through. Imagine your soul as a traveler who has been on many journeys. Each life is a new trip, but sometimes you might stumble upon a place that reminds you of somewhere you've been before. That's how believers in reincarnation see déjà vu. They think it might be your soul recognizing something from a previous life. For example, let's say you visit a small cafe in a country you've never been to before. As you sit down, you get a strong feeling that you've been there before. You can almost predict what the inside of the cafe looks like before you see it. For someone who believes in past lives, this might be a sign that in a previous life you spent time in this cafe or one very similar to it. Déjà vu is actually pretty common. Studies show that about 60 to 70% of people experience déjà vu at some point in their lives. It's more common in young people and tends to happen less as we get older. So if you've had déjà vu, you're definitely not alone. But here's the thing. Just because you've had déjà vu doesn't automatically mean you've lived before. Scientists have come up with lots of explanations for why we might experience déjà vu. Some think it's just our brains making a mistake, mixing up the present with fake memories. Others believe it might have something to do with how our brains store and recall memories. People describe déjà vu in different ways, but most agree it's a pretty weird feeling. It's like you're experiencing 2 things at once: the present moment and a strong memory of the same moment. Some people say it feels like they're psychic for a split second, able to predict what's going to happen next. Others describe it as a dreamlike state, where everything feels familiar but slightly off. The feeling usually doesn't last long, maybe just a few seconds or a minute at most. But in that short time, it can feel pretty intense. Some people find it exciting, like they're connecting with a hidden part of themselves. Others find it a bit scary or unsettling, especially if it happens a lot. Well, that's the big question, isn't it? The truth is, we can't say for sure. Science hasn't found any solid proof that déjà vu is connected to past lives. But for people who believe in reincarnation, déjà vu feels like a clue, a little hint that there might be more to our existence than just this one life. Think of it like this. Imagine you're reading a really good book, but you can only see one page at a time. Déjà vu, for believers in reincarnation, is like getting a quick peek at another page in the book of your soul's journey. It doesn't tell the whole story, but it suggests that there might be more to the story than what's on the current page. Whether or not you believe déjà vu is linked to past lives, it's certainly an interesting experience. It reminds us that there's still a lot we don't understand about how our minds work and how we experience the world around us. And for some people, it opens the door to wondering about bigger questions, like whether our souls might have lived before and what that could mean for who we are now. Now, let's talk about something that many of us have dealt with at some point: fears and phobias. We all have things that scare us, right? Maybe it's spiders or heights or public speaking. But sometimes people have really strong fears that don't seem to make any sense. These are what we call unexplained fears or phobias. A phobia is more than just being scared of something. It's a really intense fear that can make you feel panicky or terrified, even when you know there's no real danger. What's weird is that sometimes people have phobias of things they've never even encountered in their current life. This is where the idea of past lives comes in. Some people who believe in reincarnation think that these strange, unexplained fears might be leftover feelings from bad experiences in past lives. Here's how they see it. Imagine that in a past life you had a really scary experience involving water. Maybe you fell off a ship or got caught in a flood. In this life, you might find that you're terrified of water, even if you've never had a bad experience with it. Believers in reincarnation would say that your soul remembers the fear from that past life, even if your current mind doesn't. Fear of water. Someone who's never had a bad experience with water in this life might still be terrified of going into the ocean or even taking baths. Some people wonder if this could be linked to drowning in a past life. Fear of heights. A person might be so scared of high places that they can't even look out of windows in tall buildings. If they've never fallen from a height in this life, some might wonder if this fear comes from a fall in a past life. Fear of fire. Some people have an intense fear of fire that goes beyond normal caution. They might panic at the sight of candles or refuse to use a stove. In the past life theory, this might be linked to dying in a fire in a previous life. Fear of certain animals. Maybe someone has a terrible fear of snakes, even though they live in a city and have never seen a real snake. Some would wonder if this fear comes from a dangerous encounter with a snake in a past life. Fear of small spaces, claustrophobia, or the fear of small enclosed spaces, is common. But when it's really severe and has no clear cause, some wonder if it might be linked to being trapped or buried alive in a past life. Now, it's important to remember that there are other explanations for unexplained fears and phobias. Scientists and psychologists have a few theories. Evolutionary fears. Some fears, like the fear of heights or snakes, might be hardwired into us from ancient times when these things were real dangers to our ancestors. Forgotten experiences. Sometimes we might forget scary experiences from when we were very young, but the fear sticks with us. Learned fears. We can pick up fears from watching others, like our parents or friends, being scared of something. Brain chemistry. Sometimes phobias might be linked to how our brains work, especially if we're prone to anxiety. Whether or not you believe these fears are linked to past lives, they can tell us something interesting about ourselves. They remind us that our minds are complex and that our feelings don't always make logical sense. For people who believe in reincarnation, exploring these fears can be a way of understanding their soul's journey better. They might use techniques like past life regression, a kind of hypnosis, to try and uncover the roots of their fears. For others, looking at these unexplained fears can be a starting point for self-discovery. Why are we afraid of certain things? How do these fears affect our lives? Asking these questions can help us understand ourselves better, whether we believe in past lives or not. Let's move on to our third sign, vivid dreams of other times and places. We all dream, right? Sometimes our dreams are weird and don't make much sense. But some people have dreams that feel different. These dreams are super clear and detailed, almost like watching a movie in your head while you sleep. In these dreams, people find themselves in places they've never been to in real life. Maybe it's an ancient city with stone buildings and people wearing togas. Or it could be a battlefield with soldiers on horseback. Sometimes the dreamer sees themselves as someone else, maybe a farmer in medieval times or a sailor on an old wooden ship. What makes these dreams stand out is how real they feel. The dreamer might be able to smell the food cooking over an open fire, feel the rough cloth of old-fashioned clothes, or hear the clang of swords in battle. When they wake up, the memory of the dream stays with them, clear and strong. For people who believe in reincarnation, these vivid dreams are super exciting. They think these might be more than just dreams. They could be memories of past lives bubbling up while we sleep. The idea is that when we're asleep, our conscious mind relaxes its grip a bit. This might allow memories from our soul's past experiences to slip through. It's like our soul is flipping through an old photo album while we're not paying attention, and we get to see some of the pictures. The ancient Egyptian. Someone might dream they're a scribe in ancient Egypt. They see themselves writing on papyrus with a reed pen, surrounded by hieroglyphics. They can feel the hot sun on their skin and hear the bustle of people in the streets outside. The medieval knight. In this dream, the person might be a knight preparing for battle. They feel the weight of the armor, hear the snorting of horses, and smell the leather and sweat. They might even feel the nervousness in their stomach as they prepare to fight. The pioneer woman. Someone else might dream they're a woman on the American frontier. They're in a small log cabin, cooking over an open fire. They can feel the roughness of their hands from hard work and hear the wind blowing across the prairie outside. The World War II soldier. Another person might dream they're a soldier in World War II. They're huddled in a trench, hearing bombs explode nearby. They can smell the smoke and feel the fear and camaraderie of the other soldiers around them. The ancient Chinese merchant. Someone might dream they're a merchant on the Silk Road in ancient China. They see themselves haggling over prices in a busy market, surrounded by exotic spices and fabrics. They can smell the incense burning in nearby temples and feel the excitement of trade. Now here's where we need to be careful. While these dreams are fascinating, we can't say for sure that they're really memories of past lives. There are other explanations that scientists and psychologists have come up with: imagination and creativity. Our brains are really good at making stuff up. These vivid dreams might just be our imagination running wild, creating detailed scenarios based on things we've seen in movies, read in books, or learned in history class. Subconscious processing. Sometimes our brains use dreams to process information or emotions. These historical dreams might be a way for our minds to work through current issues by placing them in a different context. Memory consolidation. When we sleep, our brains sort through memories and information from the day. These dreams might be a mix-up of different memories and bits of information we've picked up. Collective unconscious. This is an idea from psychology that suggests we all share a kind of universal memory passed down through generations. These dreams might be tapping into that shared human experience. Whether or not you believe these dreams are glimpses of past lives, they can still be really valuable. Here's why. Self-discovery. These dreams might reveal parts of your personality or interests you haven't fully explored. Maybe you keep dreaming about being a healer in ancient times. This could spark an interest in medicine or alternative therapies in your current life. Creativity. These vivid historical dreams can be great fuel for creativity. Many writers, artists, and musicians have used dream experiences as inspiration for their work. Emotional processing. Sometimes these dreams might help us work through emotional issues. For example, a dream about being a leader in a past life might help you feel more confident in your current life. Historical interest. These dreams might spark a fascination with history, leading you to learn more about different time periods and cultures. Spiritual exploration. For some people, these dreams open the door to exploring spiritual ideas and beliefs about the nature of the soul and consciousness. Remember, whether you see these dreams as memories of past lives or just interesting products of your imagination, they're a normal and often fascinating part of the human experience. Many people find that paying attention to their dreams, writing them down, and thinking about what they might mean can lead to interesting insights about themselves and the world around them. So the next time you have a super vivid dream about being in another time and place, why not write it down? You might be surprised at what you can learn about yourself by exploring these nighttime adventures, whether they're glimpses of past lives or just your amazing brain taking you on a trip through time while you sleep. Certainly. I'll continue with the next 3 sections of the outline, maintaining the same style and depth. Let's talk about something many of us have: birthmarks. You know, those funny colored spots or patches on our skin that we're born with. Most of the time, birthmarks are just random marks that don't mean much. But some people think certain birthmarks might be more than just skin deep. Unusual birthmarks are those that stand out because of their shape, size, or location. Maybe it's a mark that looks like a perfect circle, or one that's in a strange place like the sole of your foot. Some people have birthmarks that look like scars or wounds, even though they were born with them and never had an injury there. Now, here's where it gets interesting for folks who believe in reincarnation. Some people think that unusual birthmarks might be connected to injuries or important marks from a past life. It's like your soul carried a memory of something that happened to your body in a previous life, and it shows up as a birthmark in this life. For example, someone with a round birthmark on their forehead might wonder if they were shot in the head in a past life. Or a person with a long, thin birthmark across their neck might think it could be related to being injured by a sword in an old battle. Bullet wound birthmarks. Some people have round, dark birthmarks that look a bit like bullet holes. In the past life theory, these might be linked to being shot in a previous life. Sword-cut birthmarks. Long, thin birthmarks, especially on the neck or torso, are sometimes thought to be related to sword injuries in past lives. Burn-like birthmarks. Large, reddish birthmarks that look like burn scars might be seen as signs of dying in a fire in a past life. Oak-mark birthmarks, circular marks around the neck or wrists, might be thought to be related to being hanged or tied up in a past life. Unusual patterns. Sometimes birthmarks form patterns that look like objects or symbols. Some people think these might be related to important items or symbols from a past life. It's not just birthmarks that some people link to past lives. Unusual physical sensations can also be part of this idea. These are feelings in your body that don't seem to have any cause in your current life. For example, phantom pains. Some people feel pain in specific parts of their body for no apparent reason. In the past life theory, this might be linked to an injury from a previous life. Unexplained scars. Sometimes people have scars they can't explain. They don't remember ever being injured there. Some wonder if these could be from injuries in past lives. Feeling sensations of wearing different clothes. Some people report feeling like they're wearing different types of clothes, like heavy armor or flowing robes, even when they're not. Muscle memories. Sometimes people find they're naturally good at certain physical activities, like sword fighting or horse riding, even if they've never done them before. Some wonder if this could be muscle memory from a past life. It's important to remember that there's no scientific proof that birthmarks or physical sensations are linked to past lives. Scientists and doctors have other explanations for these things, genetic factors. Many birthmarks are simply the result of genes or how our skin developed before we were born. Medical conditions? Some unusual physical sensations can be explained by medical conditions or how our nerves work. Subconscious influences. Sometimes our minds can create physical sensations based on things we've seen, heard, or imagined. Coincidence. With billions of people in the world, it's natural that some will have birthmarks or sensations that seem to match historical events or injuries. Whether or not you believe birthmarks and physical sensations are linked to past lives, they can still be interesting to think about. Body awareness. Paying attention to your birthmarks and physical sensations can help you become more aware of your body and health. Personal identity. For some people, thinking about the possible stories behind their birthmarks can be a fun way to explore ideas about who they are. Medical importance. Sometimes, unusual birthmarks or sensations can be signs of health issues that need checking out by a doctor. Cultural beliefs. Learning about how different cultures view birthmarks can teach us about diverse beliefs and traditions around the world. Remember, whether you see your birthmarks as simple quirks of nature or as possible signs of past lives, they're a unique part of who you are. They're like nature's own tattoos, giving each of us a special mark that's all our own. Let's dive into our fifth sign, strong intuition. You've probably heard people talk about having a gut feeling or a sixth sense. That's intuition. It's like a little voice inside you that gives you feelings or ideas about things, even when you don't have all the facts. Intuition is that feeling you get when you just know something without knowing why you know it. It's when you have a hunch about a person you've just met, or when you feel like you should take a different route home without any clear reason. Now, here's where the past life idea comes in. Some people who believe in reincarnation think that having a really strong intuition might be a sign that you're an old soul, someone who has lived many lives before. The idea is that through many lifetimes, your soul has gathered lots of wisdom and experience. In this life, that ancient wisdom shows up as intuition. It's like your soul remembers lessons from past lives and tries to guide you using those old experiences. Knowing things about strangers. Some people say they can often guess things about people they've just met, like their job or where they're from. Sensing danger. Having a strong feeling that a situation is dangerous, even when everything seems fine on the surface. Making good decisions quickly. Being able to make choices that turn out well, even without much time to think about them. Understanding complex ideas easily. Finding that you can grasp difficult concepts quickly, as if you've learned them before. Feeling drawn to certain places or cultures. Having a strong attraction to a particular country or time in history. Feeling like you belong there. While the idea of intuition coming from past lives is interesting, scientists have other explanations for why some people seem to have strong intuition. Subconscious processing. Our brains are always taking in information, even when we're not aware of it. Intuition might be our subconscious mind putting together pieces of information to form a conclusion. Pattern recognition. Through life experiences, we learn to recognize patterns. Intuition might be our brain quickly spotting familiar patterns and making predictions. Emotional intelligence. Some people are just naturally better at reading emotions and social cues, which can seem like intuition. Expertise. When we become very knowledgeable about something, we can make quick, accurate judgments that look like intuition to others. Whether you believe your intuition comes from past lives or not, it can be a useful tool. Here are some ways to develop and use your intuition. Pay attention to your feelings. Notice those gut feelings or hunches when you have them. Keep a journal. Write down when you have intuitive feelings and whether they turn out to be right. Meditate. Quieting your mind can help you hear your intuition more clearly. Trust yourself. Sometimes you need to have faith in your inner voice, even if you can't explain why. Balance intuition with logic. Use your intuition as a guide, but also think things through logically. Remember, intuition isn't always right. It's just one tool we can use to navigate life. Whether it comes from past life experiences or just our subconscious mind processing information, paying attention to our intuition can often lead us to interesting insights and decisions. Now let's talk about our sixth sign, feeling wise beyond your years. You know how sometimes you meet a kid who seems more like a little adult? Or maybe you felt like an old soul yourself, even when you were young. That's what we mean by feeling wise beyond your years. This is when you have knowledge, understanding, or a way of looking at the world that seems more mature or advanced than what's typical for your age. It's like having the mind of someone much older in a younger body. For people who believe in reincarnation, feeling wise beyond your years could be a sign that you've lived before. The idea is that your soul has gathered wisdom through many lifetimes, and some of that knowledge is showing up in your current life. It's like your soul is an old library full of books from all your past lives. In this life, you're able to access some of that library, giving you insights and understanding that seem unusual for your age. Deep understanding of complex issues. A young person who can grasp and discuss complicated topics like philosophy or politics in a mature way. Unusual emotional maturity, being able to handle difficult emotions or situations with a calmness that's rare for your age. Natural leadership abilities. Some young people seem to naturally know how to lead and guide others, even adults. Profound insights about life. Having deep thoughts about the meaning of life, death, or the nature of the universe that seem advanced for your age. Unusual skills or talents, being naturally gifted at something without much practice, as if you've done it before in another life. While the idea of wisdom from past lives is intriguing, scientists and psychologists have other explanations for why some people seem wise beyond their years. Advanced cognitive development. Some people's brains simply develop faster or in different ways, allowing for more mature thinking. Life experiences. Challenging life events can sometimes lead to accelerated emotional and mental growth. Education and environment. Growing up in an environment that encourages deep thinking and learning can lead to advanced wisdom. Personality traits. Some personality types are naturally more reflective or analytical, which can appear as wisdom. Whether you believe this wisdom comes from past lives or not, it can be a valuable trait. Here are some ways to nurture and use this wisdom. Keep learning. Feed your curiosity by always seeking to learn new things. Share your insights. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts and ideas with others. Stay humble. Remember that everyone has something to teach you, no matter their age. Use your wisdom to help others. If you have insights that can help people, share them kindly. Balance wisdom with playfulness. It's okay to be wise, but don't forget to enjoy your youth and have fun too. Write or create. Use your deep thoughts as inspiration for writing, art, or other creative projects. Remember, feeling wise beyond your years can be both a gift and a challenge. It might make you feel different from others your age, but it can also give you unique insights and abilities. Whether this wisdom comes from past lives or just how your brain is wired, it's a special part of who you are. Embrace your inner wisdom, but also stay open to learning from others and experiencing life fully in the present moment. After all, even the wisest souls are always growing and learning. Certainly. I'll continue with the remaining sections and add a conclusion. Let's talk about our seventh sign, unexplained skills or talents. You know how some people seem to be naturally good at things without much practice? That's what we mean by unexplained skills or talents. It's when you have an ability that seems to come out of nowhere, as if you've done it before in another life. These aren't just things you're kind of good at. We're talking about skills or talents that feel like second nature to you, even if you've never really studied or practiced them much in this life. For folks who believe in reincarnation, these unexplained skills might be seen as leftover abilities from past lives. The idea is that your soul remembers things it learned in previous lifetimes, and sometimes those memories show up as skills in your current life. It's like your soul has a backpack full of skills from all its past adventures. In this life, you occasionally pull something out of that backpack without even realizing where it came from. Let's look at some examples of how these unexplained skills might show up. Musical ability. Someone who can play an instrument beautifully the first time they pick it up, as if they've played it before. Language skills. Being able to understand or speak bits of a foreign language you've never studied. Artistic talent. Having a natural ability to draw, paint, or sculpt without any formal training. Physical abilities. Being unusually good at a sport or physical activity the first time you try it. Cooking skills. Knowing how to make complex dishes from a certain culture without ever learning the recipes. Healing abilities. Having a natural talent for making people feel better, whether through touch, words, or intuition. Mechanical aptitude. Understanding how machines work or being able to fix things without any training. While the idea of skills from past lives is fascinating, scientists and psychologists have other explanations for why some people have unexplained talents. Genetic predisposition. Some abilities might be influenced by our genes, making us naturally inclined toward certain skills. Early exposure. We might have been exposed to certain skills very early in life and forgotten about it. Subconscious learning. Sometimes we pick up skills without realizing it through observation or indirect experience. Brain wiring. Some people's brains might be wired in a way that makes certain skills easier to learn or perform. Practice in dreams. There's some evidence that we can actually improve skills by practicing them in our dreams. Whether you believe these skills come from past lives or not, they're certainly worth exploring. Here are some ways to do that. Try new things. You might discover unexplained talents by experimenting with different activities. Trust your instincts. If you feel drawn to a particular skill or activity, give it a try. Practice. Even natural talents get better with practice, so don't be afraid to work on your skills. Share your abilities. Your unexplained skills might be gifts that can help or inspire others. Stay open-minded. Whether your skills come from past lives, genetics, or something else, approach them with curiosity and openness. Remember, having unexplained skills doesn't make you better than anyone else. It's just one of the many interesting things that make you uniquely you. Embrace your talents, keep exploring new ones, and use them in ways that bring joy to yourself and others. Our eighth and final sign is having a strong attraction to certain cultures or time periods. This is more than just finding history interesting or liking foreign movies. It's a deep, unexplainable pull towards a specific culture or time in history. almost like a homesickness for a place you've never been. This attraction might make you feel like you belong in that culture or time period more than you do in your own. You might find yourself constantly drawn to books, movies, or music from that place or era, feeling a sense of familiarity or comfort with them. For those who believe in reincarnation, this strong attraction could be seen as a connection to a past life. The idea is that your soul lived in that culture or time period before, and some part of you still remembers and longs for it. It's like your soul has a favorite outfit from a previous life, and it keeps trying to put it on in this life. The memories of that time or place are so strong that they pull you towards anything connected to them. Fascination with ancient Egypt. Someone who's always been drawn to Egyptian history, art, and culture, feeling a deep connection to it. Love for the Victorian era. A person who feels most at home when surrounded by Victorian-style things, as if they belong in that time. Attraction to Japanese culture. Someone who feels a strong pull towards all things Japanese, even if they've never been to Japan. Renaissance obsession. A person who's always been fascinated by the Renaissance period, understanding the art and ideas from that time easily. Native American connection. Someone who feels a deep spiritual connection to Native American cultures, even if they're not Native American themselves. While the past life explanation is interesting, researchers have other ideas about why we might feel strongly drawn to certain cultures or times. Media influence. The books, movies, and shows we're exposed to can shape our interests and make certain cultures or periods seem appealing. Personality match. Sometimes a culture or time period might appeal to us because it matches our personality or values. Escapism. Being attracted to a different time or place might be a way of escaping from things we find difficult in our current lives. Cultural heritage. Sometimes we might feel drawn to cultures that are part of our family's heritage, even if we're not consciously aware of the connection. Aesthetic preference. We might simply like the look, sound, or feel of a particular culture or time period. Whether or not you believe these attractions are linked to past lives, they can be a source of enrichment and joy. Here are some ways to explore them. Learn more. Study the history, art, and customs of the culture or time period you're drawn to. Try the food. Cooking and eating foods from that culture can be a great way to connect with it. Learn the language. If you're drawn to a foreign culture, try learning its language. Visit if possible. If you can, visit places connected to the culture or time period you're attracted to. Join groups. Find others who share your interest and join clubs or online communities. Express it creatively. Use your attraction as inspiration for art, writing, or other creative projects. Remember, whether this attraction comes from a past life or just a part of your unique interests, it's a special part of who you are. Embrace it, explore it, and let it add richness and depth to your life experience. We've journeyed through 8 fascinating signs that some people believe might hint at past lives. From déjà vu experiences to unexplained skills, from vivid dreams of other times to strong attractions to certain cultures, we've explored a range of intriguing phenomena. But what does it all mean? Well, that's something each of us has to decide for ourselves. If you believe in reincarnation, These signs might feel like glimpses into your soul's long journey through many lives. They might give you a sense of connection to the past and a feeling that your current life is part of a bigger story. On the other hand, if you don't believe in past lives, these experiences can still be valuable and meaningful. They might be ways that your brain processes information, or they could be unique quirks that make you who you are. They might point to interests you could explore or talents you could develop. The truth is, whether these signs come from past lives or not, they're part of the rich tapestry of human experience. They remind us that there's still so much we don't understand about our minds, our consciousness, and the nature of reality itself. What's important is how we use these experiences. Do they inspire us to learn more about ourselves and the world around us? Do they encourage us to develop our talents and follow our passions? Do they help us connect with others who share our interests? Remember, the goal isn't to prove or disprove the idea of past lives. Instead, it's to use these experiences, whatever their source, as stepping stones for personal growth, self-discovery, and a deeper appreciation of the mystery and wonder of life. So the next time you have a strong feeling of déjà vu, or find yourself inexplicably drawn to a particular culture, or discover a talent you didn't know you had, take a moment to appreciate it. Whether it's an echo from a past life or just one of the many marvels of your amazing brain, it's a part of what makes you uniquely you. In the end, what matters most is not where we've been, but where we're going. Let these experiences, these possible signs of reincarnation, inspire you to live this life to the fullest. After all, if we do live many lives, wouldn't it be great to make this one truly count? So go ahead, embrace the mystery, explore your unexplained talents, follow your unique interests. Whether you're an old soul or a brand new one, you're on a journey of discovery. And that journey, with all its questions and wonders, is what makes life so incredibly fascinating.